Good afternoon. Excuse me. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And this is an opinion post from the New York Post by Adam B. Coleman. And it's the art of the scam. Even smart Americans fall prey to fraud. It was published yesterday. 23% of America's 52 billion robocalls are categorized as scams. And Adam said he felt like he's gambling every time he decides to answer a call from an unknown number. And if you're not being taken as a sucker, it's our government institutions being gamed with deceptive criminals, domestic and abroad, siphoning our hard-earned money. Now, America, visceral anger at Minnesota's alleged rampant healthcare and daycare fraud even led former Democratic vice presidential candidate Governor Tim Walz suddenly ended his re-election bid because of that. It's hard to openly admit you're a victim because in hindsight, the tactics are incredibly clear. Outsiders with no emotion in this situation see the scheme at hand and consider you foolish or a fool instead of being a victim. Now, Adam never spoke about this publicly, but his wife and he were scammed in 2020 on the Facebook marketplace. His wife had an old item she wanted to sell, but doubted she ever could. The scammer emailed her claiming a PayPal payment had been made, so she went ahead to prepare and shipped the item to him the next morning. And despite their initial embarrassment, they were lucky they didn't suffer any massive losses. But Americans, many of them, have lost their entire life savings, especially the elderly, and some have even resorted to suicide. The IPX 1031 2025 Fraud and Identity Theft Report found 28% of Americans were scammed in the last year. This abundance has created an industry of scam baiters who blend aspects of investigative journalism, white hat hacking, and entertainment on their YouTube channels. Ben Taylor at Pleasant Green on YouTube specializes in humor and sarcasm as he exposes various types of scams while teaching people how to avoid them. Bad news, guys. I started this way before you were ever on the air. Every year, we spend more and more time online. And now with AI, the technology is just crazy. The ones that really stick it out are these sextortion scams that the young people go through. We've had so many rattling cases where kids end up taking their lives because they're afraid these scammers are going to leak their personal photos. These people are so embarrassed to admit they fell for a scam that they rather suffer in silence. And it just takes a toll on your mental health. Ashton Bingham and Art Kulik from Trilogy Media on YouTube and hosts of the Fox Nation show Scammed, Get Even saw a similar drama while helping victims over the past decade. Talking to victims is 100 times harder than talking to scammers, Bingham told me. We've seen people lose their entire life savings. One of the first victims they ever met, Susan Not only had she lost everything, but she hadn't told her family because she was afraid they were going to judge her. With the mountain of evidence it's able to gather both domestically and abroad, law enforcement still lags in prosecuting these criminals. It was already hostile for half a decade to bring attention to law enforcement. They don't have enough time, money, resources to dedicate things to the cyber scams. Ask the greatest misconceptions about cons. Every scam baiter said people believe being scammed is an intellectual issue. Highly intelligent and capable people are routinely swindled because scammers specialize in social engineering and use technology to emulate real documents that can trick anybody. Tip: I use AI to find out what's ever coming over my cell phone, text, phone numbers, and yes, my email, and ask, is this a scam? And they find out for me immediately, something you should consider. Cyrus Johnson, a Dallas-based 23-year-old Texas and California corporate technology and finance attorney, almost lost more than $100,000 with a refined scheme targeting law offices setting up corporate deals for potential clients. The check he got turned out to be counterfeit. This scheme succeeds with attorneys receiving the check and then immediately or soon sending over a couple of $100,000 from the attorney's operating account. Assuming that the check is going to clear before we do anything else, the funds have been sent out from the attorney's account and they're lost, Johnson told Adam. In a major bust in India recently, authorities seized more than 100,000 forged certificates from 22 universities. Clients would spend $2,400 to $4,800 for their fake documents to potentially receive job opportunities domestically and in countries like America. We have the same issue here in the United States, exclaimed Julia Funeke, director of AACRAO's International Division, which helps train higher educational professionals to identify fraudulent credentials effectively. Your medical doctor, your OBGYN is from a legitimate institution. You give them some trust. If that trust is based on a lie or a false credential, then you're not only jeopardizing that person and their life, you're jeopardizing that profession and you're jeopardizing the trust of the general public. Forgeries take place with people in undeserved positions, and it undermines our entire system, which is built on trust. Scammers often attempt to mimic one-time login passcodes, causing people to click links or initiate calls that give them access to financial accounts. However, what has changed over the last couple of years is just the scale of the fraud and the sophistication that goes into these schemes. The greater number of people you can reach, obviously, the more people you can scam, said Brian Krebs, cybercrime journalist and founder of KrebsOnSecurity.com. And Adam goes on to say that speaking with these experts have altered my perception of scams and their impact. Like most people hearing about victim tales, I hyper-focus on the money they lost, but I should pay attention to the trust that is also lost. When someone cheats you, you lose trust in society and yourself. You begin to doubt you're trustworthy enough to answer an unknown incoming call or properly interpret emails by yourself. The greater the loss, the more extreme distrust you have in yourself. Scamming, then, is an emotional crime, just as it is an economic crime. It's why victims stay quiet, don't tell their friends or families, and refuse to report it to the authorities, fearing judgment. You're not a fool. Unfortunately, it was just your turn. Thank you very much for listening to today's Scam DamNation. And please go over to passionateworldtalkradio.com/blog. Listen to the audio cast or podcast, read the summary, and of course, click on the link to read everything you need, plus anything addition, so you can protect yourself. My husband had a PhD from Harvard in organic chemistry, and he was scammed by people in India promising him computer services that they didn't do. Does that tell you something? Thank you very much, and either keep warm or keep warmer. See you next time.